Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to the Radiant You podcast. I am your host, Lissa Cole, and today we're exploring a powerful, underrated tool for radiance and growth: curiosity. This is season 2, episode 5. Embrace curiosity, the spark of radiance. How wonder lights the way to a radiant life. So grab your favorite tea, get cozy, and let's dive in. But can I be honest with you? When I first titled this episode, I paused. Is curiosity really the spark of radiance? I had to really sit with that question. And here's what I've come to believe. Curiosity is often the first flicker of radiance. It's the quiet nudge that says, what if there's more to this? What's underneath this feeling? Could I see this differently? That spark doesn't come from judgment or perfectionism. It comes from wonder. And wonder is luminous. Radiance flows where love meets awareness. And what is curiosity, if not love in motion? It's the inner voice that says, let's understand. Let's not judge. Let's tend to what's tender. So yes, curiosity may not be the only spark of radiance, but it's certainly one of the brightest. And today, we'll explore exactly how to ignite it. We're looking at Pillar 1, curiosity as a radiant practice. We're beginning with something Brené Brown says: vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. And guess what the gateway to vulnerability is? Yep, curiosity. That sacred pause, that small moment when you dare to wonder instead of judge. When you ask, why am I feeling this way? What story am I telling myself? What am I learning here? Brené Brown encourages us to rumble with emotion, to approach discomfort with compassionate curiosity instead of criticism. In her research on shame, courage, and connection, she found that curiosity helps us break the cycle of self-judgment and opens the door to self-awareness and healing. Instead of shutting down or numbing out, we lean in. The science of curiosity and well-being, we've found that curiosity isn't just a mindset. It's a tool for transformation. Researchers like Dr. Todd Kashdan, a clinical psychologist and curiosity researcher, emphasizes that curiosity improves psychological flexibility, enhances life satisfaction, increases emotional resilience, deepens interpersonal relationships. Kashdan defines curiosity as the recognition, pursuit, and intense desire to explore novel, challenging, and uncertain events. He found that people who regularly practice curiosity report greater happiness and lower levels of anxiety and depression. Curiosity activates the brain's dopamine system, the reward and motivation center. When you explore something new or engage with wonder, your brain releases dopamine, creating a pleasurable and reinforcing loop. That's why asking questions, even hard ones, can actually feel good when done with compassion. Mel Robbins asks the question, what else could be true? In her book, The High Five Habit. And it offers a brilliant curiosity-based reframe. When your brain spirals into negative thinking or old narratives, she suggests pausing and asking, what else could be true? This one question is a pattern interrupter. It redirects your brain from tunnel vision to possibility. It reminds you that your first reaction or assumption isn't the only reality. This simple curiosity-based tool can disrupt anxiety spirals, foster creative problem solving, cultivate optimism and cognitive flexibility. Curiosity as a tool for self-discovery, exploring your inner world. It really does invite us inward. Curiosity invites us inward. Instead of labeling emotions as good or bad, we can say, that's interesting. This neutral lens makes sense for exploration without shame. Triggers are often misunderstood. Instead of seeing them as flaws or setbacks, curiosity invites you to ask, what wound is this activating? What does this part of me need? This shift turns triggers into teachers. Embracing your imperfections. Remember, perfectionism shrinks us. Curiosity expands us. Rather than asking what's wrong with me, can you gently ask, what's trying to be seen, healed, or understood here? This approach aligns with Kristin Neff's work on self-compassion, which shows that people who treat themselves with curiosity and kindness are more likely to take responsibility and grow without shame. Let's take a look how it can move from judgment to wonder. And it's really a mini mindset shift. So instead of, let's try that curiosity. I can't believe I messed that up. What led me to that choice? Might be a better question, would be the curiosity question. Let's do another one. Why am I like this? A curiosity question would be, what am I learning about myself? Let's look at some curiosity journal prompts. So maybe you could tonight take 5 or 10 minutes and reflect with curiosity. Ask, what am I resisting and why? What am I curious about today? What happened today that you are curious about? When did I feel reactive or shut down? And what might that reveal? What did I learn about myself today that surprised me? That's a good one. Over time, you'll notice that curiosity rewires how you relate to yourself. You'll soften where you used to judge. You'll explore where you used to shut down. Here's a radiant reminder. Curiosity is not passive. It's an active, loving choice. It says, I'm worthy of understanding. Even when I don't have all the answers, I choose to meet myself with wonder instead of war. Every single time that you choose curiosity over judgment, you are practicing radiance. You are honoring the light within by daring to see yourself fully, honestly, and gently. Pillar number 2 is a very interesting one. It's curiosity in Scripture. I named it Holy Wonder. When we think about curiosity, we often associate it with children, science, or personal growth, but it also is deeply spiritual. While the exact word curiosity doesn't show up frequently in Scripture, the spirit of curiosity, of seeking, wondering, and asking is woven throughout the Bible. A divine invitation to seek can be found in Matthew 7:7. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened to you. This verse is an open invitation from Jesus himself to engage our faith through action. Ask, seek, knock. That's curiosity in motion. God doesn't ask us to have all the answers. He welcomes our questions. Throughout Scripture, we see a rhythm of invitation and revelation. First comes the willingness to turn toward mystery. Then God meets us there. Let's look at something unexpected. What if curiosity, the wonder, is a spiritual discipline? In Exodus 3, Moses is out doing his regular work, tending sheep, and he notices a bush on fire that isn't burning up. But the story shifts with this line. When the Lord saw that he had turned aside to look, God called to him from the bush. It wasn't the fire that made it holy. It was the attention, the turning aside. Curiosity was the doorway to divine encounter. And as I shared previously, Brené Brown says, vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. And in that context of Scripture, it's also the birthplace of revelation. Moses didn't show up with a plan. He showed up with wonder. And God met him there. Let's take a moment. Let's pause. What burning bush in your life are you being asked to turn aside and look at? Not with fear, but with holy curiosity. In Hebrew, the phrase turned aside implies intentional movement, stepping off the expected path. That's what curiosity does in the spiritual life. It invites us to pause, notice, and respond. Curiosity here is sacred attentiveness. It's the awareness that something is stirring and the courage to explore it. Jesus himself was deeply engaging with curiosity. He wants us to ask questions, but he also asked over 300 questions in the Gospels, rarely gave direct answers, often responded to questions with another question. Why? Because Jesus wanted his followers to go deeper, not just collect information, but experience transformation. Some of the most radiant spiritual growth comes when we pause and ask. Ask things like, what is God teaching me here? Why is this story in Scripture? Where is God inviting me to grow? Holy wonder is not a detour. It's the path. When you approach your faith with curiosity, you honor both God's mystery and your own sacred humanity. In turning aside like Moses, you may find that God is already speaking, waiting for your gaze to meet the flame. Brené Brown teaches that curiosity in a form of courage, and the Bible beautifully echoes that. When Moses turned aside to look more closely, it wasn't just a physical act. It was a courageous spiritual pause. Curiosity is how we draw near to mystery, and Scripture shows us again and again that asking is not a weakness. It's where our relationship with God deepens. That sacred wondering, that's holy ground. Pillar 3 is curiosity for healing and growth. Let's move into one of the most transformative places where curiosity shows up. It's in our healing and growth. Curiosity isn't just about exploring the world around us. It's a powerful tool for understanding and nurturing the world within us. Curiosity rewires the brain. Neuroscience shows that curiosity activates the brain's reward circuitry, particularly in the dopamine system. Dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter, not only increases motivation and focus, but it also enhances memory, and especially when learning something new. A 2014 study by Dr. Mathis Gruber and colleagues at UC Davis found that curiosity creates a heightened state of learning. When participants were curious, their brains lit up with more activity in the hippocampus, which supports memory, and the nucleus accumbens, linked to reward and pleasure. You might say, when we get curious about ourselves, others, or the world, it's like Miracle Grow for the brain. It literally makes us more open to learning, growth, and healing. Curiosity improves relationships. In moments of relational stress, our brains can slip into protective mode, fight, flight, or freeze. But curiosity gives us access to the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for empathy, perspective taking, and emotional regulation. When you pause and ask, what might they be going through? What's behind their reaction? What's the story I'm telling myself? Hello again, Brene Brown. You interrupt reactivity and move toward relational repair. Dr. Kristen Neff, a leading researcher on self-compassion, says that curiosity fosters connection because it makes space for empathy. You could reflect. Curiosity helps us soften instead of jumping to conclusions. We lean into compassion. That shift alone can heal years of hurt. Curiosity supports identity-based change. James Clear, in his Atomic Habits book, talks about how lasting change doesn't come from goals, but from identity. It's not just, I want to be healthier, but I'm becoming the kind of person who cares for my well-being. Every small choice is a vote for your future self. Try asking, who am I becoming through this choice? What is this habit saying about what I believe about myself? If I were already that version of me, what would I do today? Curiosity helps us bridge the gap between who we are and who we're becoming. It shifts the question from what do I have to do to what do I want to be. Self-love as the foundation of curiosity. Why does curiosity feel easier on some days than others? One reason is psychological safety. Just like relationships thrive when we feel safe, our inner world thrives when we feel safe with ourselves. That's where self-love comes in. Self-love creates a safe inner space. You're less likely to shame. You're less likely to shame yourself when asking, why did I react that way? Or what am I needing right now? Permission to explore. You become more willing to try, fail, and try again. Gentle self-inquiry. Your inner voice becomes less of a drill sergeant and more of a curious, kind guide. Psychologist Dr. Dan Siegel calls this mindsight. Our capacity to perceive our own mind with curiosity and compassion. It's a core part of emotional healing and resilience. Let's look at a healing and growth prompt. Close your day with reflection in your journal or quiet space and ask yourself, what part of me needs tending today? What small question can guide me toward healing or growth? What would be the most loving next step? Not the biggest, but the kindest. If your younger self could ask you one question right now, what would it be? And how would you answer? With curiosity and compassion. Pillar number 4, cultivating curiosity and self-love together. So we're going to bring it all together now. Curiosity, self-love, healing, and radiance. These aren't separate goals or traits. They are companions on the path. You see, curiosity without self-love can turn into anxious, overanalyzing, and harsh self-judgment. But curiosity paired with self-love becomes a sacred inner dialogue, a way of seeing yourself with tenderness even as you grow. I've talked about Dr. Kristen Neff before and how she defines the self-compassion, but I want to talk again. She says being warm and understanding toward ourselves when we suffer, fail, or feel inadequate, rather than ignoring our pain or being overly self-critical. That self-compassion isn't letting yourself off the hook. It's choosing curiosity over criticism. Instead of thinking I messed up, ask yourself, what do I need right now? What would I say to someone I love in that exact situation? I love that question. Would you talk to others the way that you talk to yourself? 2012 study published in Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin found that people high in self-compassion are more motivated, not less. They bounce back from setbacks faster because they aren't busy shaming themselves. The next time your inner critic gets loud, ask it to quiet down and invite it in your curious, kind voice instead. Challenge the negative thoughts with gentle curiosity. And remember, your inner voice, your inner critic, often speaks in black and white thinking. Oh, I should have done better. I've never figured this out. Psychologists call these cognitive distortions patterns of thinking that don't serve us. But here's the trick. You don't need to fight them. You can get curious instead. Ask what's underneath this thought. What might I be afraid of? Is this belief helping me grow? Or is it keeping me small? Neuroscientific studies from UCLA's Mindful Awareness Research Center show that labeling emotions and thoughts with curiosity reduces the amygdala activity, calming our stress response and helping us respond rather than react. Embrace uncertainty with trust and love. Many people wait for clarity before they act, but the truth is, clarity often follows movement. Curiosity says you don't need all the answers, just enough to take the next step. Self-love adds, and I'll be here with you, no matter how it unfolds. As Pema Chodron puts it, truth you believe and cling to makes you unavailable to hear anything new. Let me repeat that. The truth you believe and cling to makes you unavailable to hear anything new. So practicing open-hearted curiosity lets you step into the unknown with grace. Engage in true self-care, not performative. So let me say that again. Practicing open-hearted curiosity lets you step into the unknown with grace. True self-care. Self-love is more than bubble baths and spa days like I've talked about in the past episodes. It's about tending to your actual needs. Sometimes self-care is doing less. Sometimes it's setting boundaries. Sometimes it's saying yes to joy. Research from Dr. Barbara Fredrickson, a leading scholar on positive emotions, shows that small moments of positive emotion like laughter, gratitude, rest, and movement create an upward spiral of well-being, building resilience over time. So let's practice some of these examples that I have here for you. Rest. Take a 10-minute pause without guilt. Movement. Stretch, dance, walk. Move your body with love, not punishment. Connection. Call someone who makes you feel safe and seen. Play. Do something unproductive on purpose. Ask yourself, what would caring for myself look like today, even in just 5 minutes? Set soulful boundaries. I had 3 episodes on boundaries. Oh my gosh, you should go back and take a look. Self-love isn't just soft, it's strong. It says I'm worth protecting. I honor my energy, my capacity, and my time. Dr. Brené Brown reminds us, daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves, even when we risk disappointing others. And here's where curiosity comes in. Instead of framing boundaries as rejection, reframe them as exploration. I love that. Asking the why. What do you need? Ask yourself, what drains me and why? What restores me? What would it look like to say no with grace? Let's look at some daily self-love and curiosity prompts for your journaling or meditation. What am I being invited to explore today? Oh, that's a good one. How can I approach this moment with love instead of judgment? What's one small way I can care for myself right now? Where in my life am I being called to soften? How can I be curious about my own healing instead of rushing it? You might say, this is really where the healing begins. With a question, with kindness, with a willingness to show up for yourself again and again. Let me leave you with this today. Curiosity isn't just for kids. It's for the courageous. It's not confusion. It's truly the beginning of clarity. It's not weakness. It's radical openness. Curiosity is a shit starter, but that's okay. Sometimes we have to rumble with a story to find the truth. And that is from Brené Brown in her book, Rising Strong. In other words, curiosity is a truth starter. Sometimes it stirs things up, but only because it's making space for something new to emerge. Your radiance grows when you stop judging and start wondering. Ask yourself, what lights you up? What's pulling at your attention? What feels stuck and wants to shift? Let curiosity be your compass. Let it lead you home. You don't have to have it all figured out. In fact, staying open is the path. Let me repeat that. You don't have to have it all figured out. In fact, here it is. Staying open is the path. Thank you so much for being here with me today. If this episode resonated with you, please subscribe and share it with someone you care about. I appreciate you, and I truly want you to know how grateful I am that you're here. Remember, radiance is a journey, and by simply showing up, you're already on the right path. Together, we're exploring what it truly means to embrace, celebrate, get curious, and shine as your most radiant self. See you next time. Shine your light and be the radiant you.